Hello. So your next incoming message, audio message about the Warhammer 40,000 hobby is upon you. I hope you've had a really good day at work. I've had a pretty good day, pretty productive day, getting a lot of stuff done. So I wanted to talk to you about why the Warhammer 40,000 hobby is so great. Now, if you have somebody who's wanting to get into the Warhammer hobby in general, or who's been thinking about making the dive, or if you're trying to convince a parent to let you into the hobby, I would wanted to say that you can throw this video out there as maybe one of two things. One, it's a ringing endorsement of the hobby, and number two, it's a sort of a warning about what to expect when you're in the hobby itself. So, there are lots of nuances to this, and in the modern world, obviously, I'm no longer talking to a little Timmy who wants to come in after school and start his Warhammer hobby. No, I'm talking to generally anybody of any race, any sex, any creed who can come in and basically start the hobby. So this will be very generalistic, and I'm fully aware that certain people have different parameters of what they see as a really helpful community. But for instance, I want to talk about how the hobby has benefited me in general, and let's see if it benefits you in the same way. And I'm going to try and throw in some examples from hobby stores that I've worked in over the years, where hopefully we can see just how cool this hobby and this group of people can be. So, as my own hobby story, I started the hobby when I was in high school. I was in year 7, and I was brought into the hobby through a friend of mine who was collecting Space Wolves. And I thought Space Wolves looked really, really naff and silly. So I went into collecting Eldar because I just thought that they looked pretty cool and pretty ninja-like, and I wanted to see what the Space Elves could do. I lost nearly every game in the edition that I became a hobbyist. That is is 5th edition, I think. Or was it 3rd edition? I'll have to have a little look in a minute. It's the one with the Black Templars on the front, anyway. Because the army that I chose was, again, not made for beginners. It was made for more advanced players who knew what they were doing, and I tried to play my Eldar army like a Space Marine army. So the first thing that I would like to say to you is, anybody who tells you not to collect Space Marines when you're first starting out has probably just been overexposed to Space Marines and they're kind of sick of it. But what I will say to you is, whilst the hobby in itself can be quite balanced in terms of gameplay, if you want to get on the tabletop and you want to do some gaming, getting a nice cheap Space Marine army is normally a pretty good way to go. They can take a hit, they can take a punch, they look pretty cool on the tabletop, and they're pretty easy to paint, which is why they are the standard beginner army. If there are any Tekken players out there, Space Marines are the Paul Phoenix of Warhammer 40,000. Easy to handle, easy to get used to, difficult to master truly to get the real best out of them. But they'll make sure that you don't get completely tabled every single time. So that is my advice to people starting into the hobby. Yes, Space Marines are the poster boys, and do I want Ultramarines to be constantly in people's faces? No, not particularly. But at the same time, they're built for a reason, and that's because they're absolutely really, really cool, and they are a very good way to get into the hobby and not be dissuaded by being tabled every single time you play a game. Right. So that's the first bit of advice out of the way. And if you are new to the channel, I'm taking a swift tea break. 1 second. Hopefully the advert didn't come in there, because it normally does. Whenever I take a tea break, the advert comes in and says, "Hey." I think because the video waits for a natural pause in what you're saying, and then slides the advert in. So that is my first advice. If you're a parent and Space Marines are recommended to you, listen to your kid, listen to what they want to do, listen to what they want their hobby to look like, and if they are enamoured with Space Marines, don't listen to other hobbyists who tell you not to do it. Their experience matters more than what other people have when they're playing them. That just is what it is. One other thing I wanted to go into is, I've mentioned this in other videos before, and that's that Warhammer is a niche hobby. And in being a niche hobby, we tend to attract niche people. The vast majority of people within the Warhammer 40,000 hobby are fantastic individuals. I've met some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life in Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer in general. And when I was working in my store, when I was running my own store, well, I used to have one or two hobbyists come in. One was called Clive. I've mentioned him before on the channel, and he would come in and he would just donate models. He would just come in, and he had a very well-paying job. He would come in, and he would come in with his own army, and he never won a game. He literally would just come in on a Thursday night, and I'm pretty sure he was letting the kids beat him. Like, he would give the adults a good game and would win every now and again, I suppose. But I would only ever watch him when he was playing the newcomers, when he was playing the kids, and he always lost. And it was always an epic battle where they would come down to one model each, and I was sure he was fudging rolls, like saying, "Oh, I rolled a 3 there, that actually does save me in the rules, but it doesn't this time. I'm dead," that sort of a thing, just to make sure that they stayed in the hobby. And he would go around scouting, and we had to we actually had concerned parents come in and say, "Look, a strange man has given one of my a strange man asked one of my kids like what army they were doing, and I didn't have that much money." And the next week he came in with a battle box for them, and it's a bit inappropriate, and I just had to say, look, that's just what Dave does. He's done it with me before. He's bought me something before. Like, it's just what he does. Look, he's in a very well-paid job. He's paying it forward, essentially. He wants people to play. He wants people to stay in the hobby. That's basically what it is. And every parent has said that too was like, oh, okay, what a nice gentleman, And yeah, so people like that are in the hobby, like, totally. And they will sort you out. And if they don't pay for you to do something, they will give you their time, which is worth just as much. I've seen people like Clive. There's a guy called Paul who used to work nearby to my store. He would come in every single Thursday, and he would come in with a 500-point army and would stand on the introduction table. And every single time somebody came in who looked like they didn't know what they were doing or that they were bored, he would say, "Hey, do you have an army?" And every single time that person would go, "Yeah, I've got something on me. It's only a couple of 100 points though." And he'd go, "Great. I only want to play a game with a couple of 100 points. Come on this intro table and we'll play a game together." And he would play all night doing that. And every single game would last for half an hour, 45 minutes. They would have a blast. He'd take a quick break and they'd come right back again. Again, if somebody from head office came in and saw people playing on the introduction table like that, they would hit the roof because technically you're not supposed to do that. But I just thought it was such a good experience for him to bring people into the hobby that I just let it happen. I just thought it was such a great thing to do. And believe it or not, the amount of teachers that I know, as in high school teachers and primary school teachers who are involved in the Warhammer hobby, is ridiculous. I'm a teacher myself, nearly every single teacher that I know who's male, let's say, not the females can't be in the hobby, of course, but every single teacher that I know who is male tends to be involved in the hobby somehow. Like that's how I've met them. I've been, oh, you're a teacher as well, cool. I don't know, what army do you collect, right? It's just people who want to teach and people who want to nurture other people, weirdly, they gravitate towards Warhammer. There are so many people here who want to teach you how to be into the hobby, who want to teach you how to excel in the hobby, and who want to make you get better at being a hobbyist. And generally, I will say this as well about the Warhammer community. In general, you will become a better person from being here. And there's not that many hobbies I can say that with. Like, I'm literally a better person for the hobby. I'm a better person for working at Games Workshop. I'm a better person for having this YouTube channel. I'm learning more every day, and I'm getting better at being myself every day. I used to suffer from crippling depression and anxiety. Not a thing that I would actually recommend, because, as a lot of you know, if you've had depression, the difference between being depressed and being sad is that you know why you're sad, right? Being depressed is it's not sadness, it's despair. It's despair. You are despairing and you don't know why. You're nervous constantly and you don't know why. You have that churning feeling in your gut and you don't know why, and it tortures you, especially when you should be happy. That's happened to me so many times when I've been in a situation where I should be happy, and it's ruined it for me, because I've just thought, when's the meteorite going to strike? When is this all going to go wrong? When are they going to find out that I'm a fraud? When are they going to find out that I'm not good enough to be doing anything like this? And Warhammer has been a huge part of me looking at that and being like, well, these people like me. Like, when I go to this store, these people like me, and there must be a reason why when I'm working at Games Workshop, people always leave with a smile on their face, and the models that they wanted Probably because they got the models that they wanted. But like, there's got to be a reason why they're leaving with a smile on their face all the time. So it's positively benefited me to be around this community. Don't get me wrong, I have negative points to make about the Warhammer community as well, which I will get into, and I will use specific examples from stores. But this is a positive video. The nurturing mentality of the Warhammer hobby is something that is completely beyond most other hobbies. You genuinely will not go into League of Legends or Magic the Gathering or anything like that and get a complete rundown of the hobby, a complete armor around your shoulder saying, hey man, welcome, this is what we're doing here, this is how we do it, this is how you paint, this is how you put models together, this is how you read the rules in the codex, this is how you play a game, this is how you... No one will take... In fact, if you go to something like League of Legends or any game like that, Dota, wherever, you will get shouted at for being new. You will get harangued and harassed for being new. You'll be chased out of town for being new. You know? The amount of times you try and learn an online video game and people will join a lobby, see your level, and then leave. You know? That's just how it is because you're allowed to be anonymous on online games. In Warhammer, you're not. In Warhammer, one of the best things that Warhammer does for you, it teaches you people skills. If you've ever had a problem talking to people, coming out and saying different things, or even coming out in general, which I've seen happen in a few cases in Warhammer stores, right? I don't mean somebody stands on a box and says, I'm gay. I mean, no. I mean, in general, that person started to tell other people that they're homosexual at the store because they feel totally accepted. They feel like, okay, I can let my guard down here. I'm no longer around my parents. I know I'm 14, but I know what I want, right? And you know, I've had people say, yeah, you know, blah blah, and it's come up and they've done a quip about being gay, right? They've thrown out a joke about them being gay, personally, right? And they've gone, oh right, okay, cool, and people just carry on. Again, it's not like that in every single store ever. I don't want you to think this is some kind of utopia where you go in and everything's fine with the world, but in general, the hobby itself is extremely accepting and extremely... There is a very cool line from Game of Thrones, which is, you know, I have a fondness in my heart for, what was it? Cripples, bastards, and broken things, right? And Warhammer is essentially that kind of a hobby. We all love cripples, bastards, and broken things and weirdos. This is why we allow Emperor's Children players into the hobby, right? Just in general. And I say that from a point of love, by the way, because a few of my friends are Emperor's Children players, and they're all lovely, lovely weirdos. But this is what we do. We go and we adopt these people, and we say, look, you know, it's fine. You're niche people, all right? Well, so are we. Come on. Let's go, and let's play a few games of Warhammer. The amount of people in high school, right, who used to take the piss out of me for liking Warhammer until they came with me to a store, and all of a sudden they'd be walking around and asking questions. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? How are you doing that? Can I paint one of these? And all of a sudden they're sitting there. I've had girlfriends, right, who normally geeks would be ashamed of bringing to a Warhammer store, walk in and go, can I have a go? Because it is fun, right? It is a completely engrossing, ingratiating, fun hobby that sits you down and says, this is so fucking cool. Let me talk to you about how fucking cool this is. And you can sit there for hours and talk. I have drank long into the night with people that I've just met in bars talking about Warhammer. It's constantly talking about Warhammer and gushing about the hobby and what we find cool about it. So that's what I would say, is that Warhammer teaches you to be a socially more active person. And that's before I even get into the game side of things. The game requires you to talk to your opponent, to negotiate with your opponent, to have a laugh and have a good time with your opponent. I mentioned in my last video, one of the main things that you have to sort out when you're going into the Warhammer hobby is the main rule of the hobby is both players have to be having a good time. And if that's not the case, then you're playing the game wrong. And that's exactly why I think the social aspect of Warhammer, when you're playing the game itself, whether it be Age of Sigmar, 40k, Inquisitor, Blood Bowl, I don't care, whatever it is, Mordheim, Lord of the Rings, it is a social experience where you are standing there with an opponent, talking, and I have had heart to heart. When I broke up with my girlfriend when I was working for Games Workshop, right? I broke the news to one of my friends in the store over a game of 40k. Like, we were literally playing a 1,000 point game of 40k just to take the edge off the day, because he was helping me that day in the store. And I just said, look, we split up, and I'm really upset. And we had a really good heart to heart about where my life was going and what I was going to do and what I should be doing with my life. And eventually I settled on, look, I need to be a teacher. I need to educate, and that's where I am now. And I feel that later on in life, when I've taught, I can then become a writer, and I can go on and write. Turns out I'm hoping to combine those two things over the next couple of years, which is exciting times. But I had that eureka moment over a game of Warhammer 40,000, right? This guy called Gerald. Hello, Gerald, if you're watching. He doesn't mind me saying his name. He's already told me. But he would literally, he's from South America, and he would literally come in and would talk about, life and whatever, and he would help me out in the store. And yeah, I had that heart to heart with him, and I wasn't emotional or anything, but it was so big for me to admit that I was feeling vulnerable and I was feeling upset. I'm from the north of England, and we don't generally say things like that. You have a stiff upper lip, you get on with it, you don't tell anybody when you're upset, you don't let people know when you're depressed, you don't do anything like that. It's wrong. It's selfish, in fact. It's selfish. You're a bad person for doing that, right? That's how you're brought up here. Even now, it's ridiculous. But playing that game brought down my walls. For some reason, I felt so safe. Even in the store, it was empty, we just closed up, and I just felt safe enough to just say, look, here's how I'm feeling right now, and I need this right now. I need to play this game right now. And we played that game, went out for a few drinks, and did everything get immediately better after that? No, of course not. Life is a struggle. But it helped me in the moment. And sometimes that's all you need with a hobby. And that is why I think Warhammer is a fantastic social game for bringing you out of your shell and teaching you how to interact with other people. One of the other examples I wanted to make, and I've said this in another video, so please feel free to skip ahead the next couple of minutes if you've heard the story before. But we did have somebody in the store, especially if you're a parent, I'd like you to listen to this story. We did have somebody in the store who was special needs, and he never spoke a word to anybody. Like, he couldn't speak. He literally couldn't talk. And his dad, we would point things out to his dad, and his dad would say, oh, yeah, okay. And his dad could basically interpret for him. And his dad would sit down at the introduction table and do some painting, do some modelling, whatever. And lo and behold, as the weeks went on in the store, this kid started to orbit further and further away from his dad at that table, and started looking in on other games and other tables and other things that were going on in the store. And lo and behold, he met somebody with autism who was playing a game, and high-functioning autism, but still had it, right? And this kid who had autism was also able to just translate what this kid was meaning by his little gestures, tiny little gestures. And he was like, yeah, cool. So they ended up playing a few games of Warhammer 40,000. And they ended up having a really, really good time. Obviously, the kid who couldn't speak, like he wasn't like doing very much. He was doing the game, things like that. Anyway, cut to like a month later, near the store anniversary, and I'm standing with his dad, and we hear strange laughing noises coming from one corner of the store, where this guy's son is over there. The guy who can't speak is over there with his friends who's made at the store, and he's laughing at somebody else's game, and they're all like clapping and cheering and nodding along, and it's all going really well. And I turn around to this guy, to this guy's dad, and this guy's dad is actually crying. Like, he's actually got tears in his eyes and is like getting a tissue out to wipe it all away, right? Now, if that doesn't tell you how much of an epic hobby this is, I don't know what to say to you, right? Maybe this isn't a hobby for you if you can't see the value in that. Because I did nothing there. I just provided a space, and the guys did the rest. The hobbyists did the rest. And that's why Warhammer 40,000 is so great. Please notice I haven't gone into rules. I haven't gone into how cool the setting is. I haven't gone into anything like that. No, this is why Warhammer's so great. And this is why I'm so proud to be a part of it. Anyway, that's my positive video. There will be a negative one for you towards the weekend. I wanted to keep it positive because I'm going back into school on Thursday, and I'm fucking dreading it. So I want to do a positive one to keep my mood up. and I'll do a more negative one over the weekend where I'm feeling more up to it. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Love you all. Speak to you later. Oh, by the way, if you like what I do, my Patreon's down there if you want to buy me a beer. Below that is the Discord. If you ever feel lonely or you ever need to talk to somebody, come on the Discord. We are a lovely bunch of weirdos. Come and say hello to us. Alright, see you later. Have a good one.